Just a couple days ago, you might have noticed some changes to your active ads on Facebook, but don't worry though, because right now I'm going to show and explain to you simply what changes Facebook has made and what to do moving forward. I'm sure at this point you've seen this banner inside of your ads manager lately and you've probably even dismissed it. But when we look into the details of these actual changes, we can see that Facebook has removed over 5,000 targeting options to help prevent misuse. So coming straight from the source of Facebook themselves, they say that we're committed to protecting people from discriminatory advertising on our platforms. And while these certain options have been used in legitimate ways to reach people interested in a certain product or service, we think minimizing the risk of abuse is more important. So you think 5,000 targeting options, maybe it's not that big of a deal. That doesn't sound like too many, but what type of targeting options have actually been removed by Facebook? In this article right here, it says starting January 19th, 2022, we will remove detailed targeting options that relate to topics people may perceive as sensitive. And diving into the actual types of detailed targeting options that have been removed by Facebook, at least that they're showing here, are starting with health causes, sexual orientation, religious practice and groups, and then they put on the very bottom line here political beliefs, social issues, causes, organizations, and figures, which honestly are the more important detailed targeting options that have been removed. For example, this guy right here, Paul, runs the Facebook ads for his wife's business, and for several years he has relied on interest-based targeting to reach his niche audience in the well-being space, but all 18 of his top interests have been removed because of this update by Facebook, all the way from specific people in that niche to very broad terms like meditation, somatics, and energy healing. And it's crazy that even one of them, chakras, over 25 million people inside of that interest have been removed from Facebook. But there are solutions to situations like this that I'm gonna break down for you in a three-part method. And just lastly, touching on an article from Facebook here, and by the way, all of these will be linked in the description below, they say that it is important to note that the interest targeting options we're removing are not based on people's physical characteristics or personal attributes, but instead on things like people's interactions with content on our platform. However, we've heard concerns from experts that targeting options like these could be used in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups. So my take on all of this and as to why this is happening is Facebook essentially is saying that they don't want you to be able to exclude certain types of audiences and getting too specific with your targeting. Obviously, there's always going to be someone in any scenario in life, and specific now to Facebook advertising, that are gonna do things for the wrong reasons. But people like Paul, for his wife's business and many other businesses within the well-being space and so on, are now affected because of this update that Facebook has decided to do, taking away over 5,000 targeting options. At the end of the day though, I do believe that Facebook is always going to take the certain steps that are best interest in themselves and how they're seen in the public image compared to, what us, the advertisers specifically, may want to have and be able to use. So now starting into the three-part solution to these changes starts off just inside of the ad sets themselves, and something that we no longer even have the control to be able to select, which is automatic audience expansion, both for lookalikes as well as our detailed targeting. Obviously, detailed targeting hasn't gone away completely, but you may remember, over the years, the box here, it's always been a back and forth of should I have the detailed targeting expansion box checked or not. But now Facebook has decided to leave the decision to themselves, where they are going to reach people that they find are similar to those you're targeting to see your ad compared to just the audience you're selecting. And honestly, that's not something I'm really mad about, because I've always done it anyways and I've seen better and more consistent long-term results by doing it. So moving forward with detailed targeting, inclusion and exclusion, you're really gonna have to focus more on just being broad and general. Facebook is now favoring more broad targeting inside of your ad sets, and I've honestly had a lot of success over the years just doing no interest targeting, but it can help in certain situations to get specific. And now, unfortunately, we can't even really get specific maybe how we may have wanted to in the past. So if we come over here for Paul's example and, in something of the lines of interest, and we go down looking for something like fitness and wellness that would fit his business model or his wife's business model. And we can see yoga, and it's very, very broad. 382 million to 449 million, which is very broad, which I would assume Facebook would favor, but that's a big difference from the interests he said he was using before. And Facebook does have the suggestions tab where you can look into this, but all of these are, again, very broad and nothing super specific. I'm not sure what Hatha Yoga is. It seems crazy to me, though, that some of the more specific yoga types are still here, but not meditation. Gone. So to be honest, when I am still using detailed targeting, I'm keeping it very broad. 9 times out of 10, just using no interest targeting to test ad creatives without bias. But if you are going to use some, you're going to want to just keep it as general as possible. Not everything is removed. There are still brands and names that you can use. But if your offer relates to something more specific in the space of the categories Facebook has removed, it's going to be more of a challenge. And now the third part to this solution is the most critical and important part, which is taking advantage of your data. And this is something I dive deep into inside of my advanced advertiser mentorship group, but I'm going to break down for you now the 3-part method to creating tight lookalike audiences as an opposite side use to everything going on here, because I find a lot of value in using lookalikes and specifically using more of the smaller audiences with lookalike expansion on, well, automatically now, to get longer term profitable and consistent results. So the first part of this method is going here to lookalikes, and Paul, if you're watching this, you may have done this already, but I highly recommend you try this out using value-based lookalikes, and specifically one to start off that in theory should be the most profitable and best performing is using the purchase event. And this is just an example here for the pixels, so there's no data, but when you select this, you're gonna have all your data showing of how many sales you have, as well as the exact values, both highest and lowest. So if someone bought for something for $10, and then if someone bought something for $1,000 as the max, then that would be showing as the highest value and the lowest value passed, and everything in between is tracked as well. But do keep in mind when you are creating value-based lookalikes off of purchase or any other event trackable, it's only going to allow you to create the audience if you have over 100 event fires for that specific event in the last 60 days tracked here. So I would need at least 100 purchases within a certain location in the last 60 days to be able to create this audience. And when getting specific with this and making this look like a tight audience, I do this by one country at a time and start just off of a 1% audience. So obviously it is a bit of a smaller audience, roughly if it's going to be just under 3 million people, but with the lookalike audience expansion, Facebook should be able to find more people and continue spending money and getting results from there. And the second one is using your existing customer list to create value-based lookalikes, but just with more data attached to it. So what you're going to do is first have to create a custom audience, and you're going to download from wherever your offer is hosted the list of your customers. You can upload that here into Facebook, and it's going to allow you to upload that list as a CSV file, whatever it may be, and then select the column for the value of, say, however much they had purchased, and then you're going to be able to create kind of just more in-depth and more detailed of a specific purchase value-based lookalike. It could be considered comparable to the audience type we just talked about before, except this one is going to be more specific, more quality, and Facebook should be able to find more quality of an audience to target compared to the previous one. So the third audience type I suggest you test is to create a custom audience off of people who have engaged with your Instagram and your Facebook, and then we're going to create a lookalike audience off of those specific sources. So what I like to do is just go here directly to custom audience and then choose Instagram account and then select your account, and then instead of doing everybody who's visited, engaged, etc., I would narrow it down to something a little bit more quality, which is people who have actually engaged, whether they liked, commented, or saved, or clicked on any type of button. And you can keep this broad, do this in the last 365 days and create the audience, and then do the exact same thing for your Facebook page. And then you'll just go over here to create audience, lookalike audience, and choose the source that you have just created, and then you're going to be able to create the lookalikes 1% off of the specific location you're aiming to target. So these changes by Facebook aren't the end of the world by any means, but I wanted to make sure that you could still understand what's going on, what's happened, and how to address this moving forward. So Be broad with your cold targeting, inclusions or exclusions, and go ahead and test out the 3 different types of tight lookalike audiences that typically are going to perform even better than your cold targeting nowadays with your Facebook ads. So all resources from this video and everything else will be linked in the description below. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and message me and follow me on Instagram where I post daily value videos. Have a good day. Peace.